anybody had told me whilst I was in the midst of the menopause that post-menopause I would feel great, I would feel healthy, adventurous, very, very positive, I wouldn't have believed them. Here I am now, 71, and that's exactly how I feel. I feel better than I did definitely pre-menopause. We don't talk enough about post-menopause and what goes on. So I'm going to do that today. Life is easier in some ways, but we still need to take care of ourselves. So my sort of 5 priorities are: number one is health. Because where are we without our health? We need to be healthy in order to do things and to live our lives as fully as we possibly can. So for me, that has a lot to do with diet, because if we don't give our bodies what it needs to work on a daily basis, that is going to have a big impact on us as well. Problem for me is I love food. I'm also very small, and I only need to overeat for a week and I go up a dress size. But going on a lifelong diet, I couldn't cope with that. So what I do is I do the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, I'm very careful about what I eat. I find for me a sort of low carb um, protein diet seems to work the best for me. Doesn't do it for everybody, but for me, I've found over the years that that's the best way for me. But 20% of the time, I will enjoy myself. If I'm on holiday, if I'm out with friends or family, then I will just eat what I want in moderation. And, I love the odd glass of wine, my mid-morning cup of coffee. So these are things that I'm not going to give up, but I find that doing the 80-20 tends to keep everything on a real even keel. I do take supplements as well to protect my bones and to support my nervous system, because these things are very important as you start to get older. Number two is fitness. Again, we have to keep fit. If we want to live these years happily, we have to be fit enough in order to be able to do it. So exercise plays a really big, important part for me. I love walking, so I'm out for a long walk every week, weather permitting, here in Scotland. I do yoga. It's really important. One of the main things is for balance. So many women in their 60s and 70s and 80s end up falling over and ending up with hip fractures. So balance exercise on a regular basis, really, really important. I also make sure I do some kind of exercise to get my heart going. Unfortunately, post-menopause, heart attacks are more common in women post-menopause. So it's important that I keep my heart working really well. It's not necessarily about running yourself into the ground or going to the gym. It's about just keeping active. I now have 4 of the most amazing great-grandchildren, with another one on the way shortly. So for me, this is the biggest incentive to keep healthy. I want to be able to get down on the floor with them and play games. So having some kind of incentive to keep yourself fit and healthy is it's a great way to go. Prioritizing rest is so important. Sleep is one of the greatest healers. If we don't sleep well, that's going to impact on all areas of our health, both physically and emotionally too. So try and get a good night's sleep. I mean, I find now post-menopause, I used to be able to go to bed, put my head on the pillow, and I would be asleep within seconds, whereas now sleep is much harder. It takes me a lot longer. I don't sleep so deeply. I sometimes have to get up in the middle of the night. So I have to try and be really careful to get as much good sleep as I can. If you find it difficult, there are loads of lovely herbs. I play a little bit of relaxing music just to calm my mind down. Rest is really important too. And I'm a great believer in 30 minutes me time every day. We need to shut ourselves away from the world for a bit of peace and quiet. Just with everything that's going on, it can be quite depressing. It can be quite upsetting, and sometimes just that little bit of peace. Doesn't have to be full meditation. It could just be listening to music, or just doing some slow, deep breathing. Anything like that can be really, really helpful. But for me, that is a real priority. Number 4 is just to focus on today. There's so much stress going on in the world. There's so many things that pull us down that we can't control, and letting go of things that we can't change is really, really important. So just make sure that you're not pulled into all this stuff. And what I found is that social media can be so bad at getting you hooked. I do it myself. I'll pick up a thread on Facebook or something, and the next minute you realize an hour has gone by and you feel really drained because you've been reading such awful things. So I definitely don't have my phone with me all the time, and I have periods where I'll do a little bit of detox, just to make sure that I'm not pulled into all of these things too. The other thing I found really helpful post-menopause, although it was a very difficult thing to get to grips with, is saying no. Because you can still get pulled into everything. You can end up giving your all to everybody else, and at the end of the day, you have nothing left. And we have this thing in our heads that if we say no to somebody, they're going to be angry with us, they're going to be upset, they're going to not love us or like us anymore. But very often, most people are quite gracious when you just say, no, I just don't feel like doing that, or I've got something else on. So, saying no, or practicing saying no, is a really great thing for self-preservation at the end of the day. Number 5 is finding joy in the world. And I am, that there are things that I will do now that I wouldn't have had the strength, the physical strength, and also just just to be able to actually do it, have the confidence to do it. So I found that this has been one of the greatest positive postmenopause things, is that I really enjoy life a lot more. I'm much more adventurous. So for me, planning holidays, planning adventures, and I'll quite happily travel halfway around the world on my own to Australia to see family. I did an amazing trip up the Amazon River last year, and I have more exciting plans in the planning department. So for me, it's about finding joy. Not always big things. I'm very lucky in that I have a little garden. So especially when the weather's nice, like at the moment, going home from work and sitting in my garden, just listening to the birds, or watching the bees and the butterflies, and admiring the flowers. It's just such a lovely place to be, and it takes you away from everything else that's going on. So I hope you found this helpful. Remember, in the days of gloom, when you just feel that you're never going to take a step forward, that there is life and light at the end of the menopause tunnel. It's a new chapter. You're not the same when you go through it. Say for me, I wouldn't recognize myself now as I was pre-menopause. I just feel that I've evolved into a completely different person. So for you, for those of you that are through it, how are you doing? What have you found that's really helped you to cope? What are you looking forward to? What things do you do to make life better? Would love to hear from you. I love, watching and reading all your stories. So please continue with that. Have a lovely week, and I'll see you soon.